What's up, everybody? It is Thursday, December 10th, 2015, and what time is it? It's game time. Welcome to episode number 10 of John and Ted's excellent Gamecast, and happy two-loss holiday to everybody out there. Patriots go down again. We are so excited. John, high five through the through the microphone. Exciting day it is.
Fist bump.
Yes, I am your host, Ted Edwards, CEO of RaptorCow, and as always, I'm here with Jonathan Nadeau. What's up, man? I know you're happy too.
Oh yeah, it was a great NFL Sunday. Denver win, New England loss. It doesn't get much better than that.
We get two holidays in a row. That's awesome. I'm so excited.
And here's a statistic. I don't know the exact number, but it's been, I think, roughly 10 years since New England has lost back-to-back games.
Wow. That is amazing. So this is really a holiday. So what are we going to do to celebrate?
Oh, man, I've already been celebrating.
Yeah, same thing, too. So, well, John, we're not alone. We have another person to celebrate with us. We are here with Charlie Trinh. What's up, man? How's it going, dude?
How you guys doing?
We're excellent. Yes. Football fan, Charlie? Who's your team?
Don't necessarily have a football team just because living in LA, we don't really have a football team. So, But since I went to USC, I love USC football.
Okay, fair enough. That's awesome. The Trojans, yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm a college football fan myself. Florida Gators and San Diego State Aztecs. What you got to give props to my Aztecs? 10-3 this year, going to the Hawaii Bowl. Yeah, but
nice.
Conference champions. Yes, so excellent.
We have a rotating kind of leadership going on over there at USC.
Yeah, a little bit of slightly drunk coaches and things like that.
Yeah. Hey, man, maybe he's going through some tough stuff after, like, the legacy of USC's been kind of very shaky since Pete Carroll left.
That's to say the least, and then there's still, lingering, penalties from the NCAA and all the above going on. And, yeah, it's a weird transition time for USC, a program that has, like, so much, clout and history and tradition and, the athletes and everything just can't
And it really does suck for the athletes, too, just because, they're great athletes. I heard they were, like, one of the best recruiting class.
Oh, always. Yeah.
Their leadership. You could see it in, like, when they just, like, from just their skills in the games, but without their leadership, it's really tough to, like, know where to go, strategize further.
For sure. So, real quick, Charlie, we always like to do, so the listeners know who the heck the third voice is. Give a quick rundown, an elevator pitch of yourself. Like, who are you, what you do, real quick, and so they know who's talking. Cool.
I'm one of the co-founders at Game School. It is a kind of a school where we're teaching students how to get into game development, going to making mobile games or VR experiences. And we're actually thinking about going either through Unity or Unreal or both. It's kind of our discussions for today. And we started teaching. We are also doing game panels and game jams throughout the year to kind of bring awareness and bring the indie community and kind of develop new game talent in that community.
Cool. And what's your background personally? Like, where did you come from? How are you getting games?
I was at Disney for 6 years. I was Disney Interactive. I worked on a lot of the games, the mobile games, and the online games for the movies. So I worked on things like Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph. I started kind of my early days with Sorcerer's Apprentice, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
I had a fun time making that game, and then all the way recently to what was the last? Frozen. Yeah, Frozen was kind of like Frozen was my last kind of game I developed. And then left Disney about a year and a half ago, kind of looking for what I wanted to do next and find myself.
And here you are.
This program, yeah.
Sweet. Well, that is awesome. Well, that's good to hear. So I always like to have cool people from the industry on. John, do you want to develop some Disney games, some cool Mickey Mouse games one of these days?
That's pretty cool working in with Disney. I mean, they're heavy hitters with stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Disney Interactive is coming up, so yeah, big time.
Yep.
Awesome.
I call it we had our days of being a startup ourselves, when Disney wasn't recognized as a games or interactive development. So we were very indie. People were like proving kind of what we could do in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's kind of the story with a lot of... The thing is, too, it's like movies to video games and vice versa have not always had a good track record. So, you know, with a big company like Disney and all those properties, that's a whole audience they can reach, and they haven't necessarily been reaching it effectively. Now, back in the day, you guys remember like the Sega Genesis games like Lion King and Aladdin and all that stuff? Oh, yeah. Those were awesome. But since then, it's not been good. But now, you know, the Disney Infinity, you know, all that stuff is crazy. You know, they have so much going on with that. So it's
they hit home run with the Infinity stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they're killing it.
That was a genius business development they did on that.
Oh yeah, they're starting to make some moves on that for sure. So John, was there any running down the stairs today when the Patriots lost, or the other day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was checking the score. Unfortunately, I tried to do. I downloaded the ESPN radio app on my phone.
Right.
And it was totally horrifically inaccessible. ESPN, you should be ashamed of yourself. So I couldn't use it at all, and my son wasn't around to help me out. So I was like, man, so I couldn't listen to the game. But I was checking the score on NFL.com, and I saw at the end of the game, I was like, 35-28. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So you were at the San Diego game, right?
Oh, we didn't end up going to that game, actually.
Okay.
No, we did not. But yes, we were there in spirit. But yeah, the Chargers, they are having a rough year. So
how did Brock? I mean, they only put up 17 points, but when San Diego only puts up 3, that's fine.
Well, yeah, honestly, the game was pretty. I don't think it was great for Denver. They started off hot, but I think the Chargers had 7 turnovers, and they only scored 17 points. Yeah, so it's like. It's like, is that good or is it not good? So
it should have been like 42-3, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, well, shoot, I think we should just get into it. We had a lot going on this last week. You guys ready for some news? I think we should just jump in and just dive in.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, so let's get into the news. So, John, last episode I think we mentioned a little game called Shaq Fu, right? We couldn't remember it. Actually, 2 weeks ago we mentioned it, and then I brought it up last week because of the name. But no joke, I saw this news story like last week, and Shaq Fu 2, basically Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn, is real.
Dude, that's because we talked about it.
It is. I think we birthed that into life. Like
exactly.
There's actually, we do crowdfunding, Charlie, and this is kind of the thing and the marketing for it. And it's actually a successful Indiegogo campaign about a year ago, John. And yeah, it's happening. And,
wow,
that's
you guys
funny.
Were putting that crowdsource.
Yeah, exactly. We put that out there into existence in our minds. So yeah, did you ever play the old Shaq Fu game, Charlie? Like so.
No, not really. I didn't have it. Was it only on the Sega?
Yeah, it was on Sega. I think it came on. Yeah.
Super Nintendo.
Okay, it did come SES, I think. Yeah, but it's such a bad game. But. Yeah.
Awesome bet.
Exactly. And that's why Shaq was at the Game Awards this year, because he's, pumping up Shaq Fu. And it's kind of funny that he can be like, oh, hey, I'm the big tuna, but hey, I like many video games coming out. I just thought that was really funny though. But it was a successful campaign too. It raised like $450,000, like crazy. I was like, yeah, like to make sure. I mean, there's enough people. I think it had like 1,300 backers. So successful, for Shaq Fu.
That's no joke.
A Legend Reborn.
Were you guys at the awards?
Yeah, I ended up going. So yeah,
it was
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was cool. So should we? That's the next thing. I just want to get that out of the way. So we had a couple things happen this week in video games. We had the Game Awards and PSX, 2 huge things, a lot of announcements, so much going on. Let's jump into the Game Awards wrap-up. So we didn't have a chance last episode to talk about the individual awards, but I think we should go over a couple of the awards that came out. So let's just jump right into it. The Game of the Year. Game of the Year was The Witcher 3 this year. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Charlie, have you had a chance to play The Witcher at all?
No, actually, I just downloaded it at Steam, but I've been on a Mac, so I had issues with not running on my
Right,
Mac.
right. I've had some time seeing. Yeah, I haven't played it enough personally, but I've definitely seen people play it and like friends of mine play it. It looks amazing. It's awesome. I mean, there's so much going into it. I think that's worthy of the game of the year. It should be at least in the conversation. There's other games that have debate for it. I think.
Yeah.
But-
So, because I heard it was the story, right? That's really compelling to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty deep story, and there's so much branching dialogue. You can change it. It's almost like a Telltale game. So, in that sense, but yeah, and then visually, it's amazing. It's sprawling. It's like 300 hours, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty hardcore. Speaking of all that, I actually recently, just this week, finally. Updated and got everything, and I just binged on games. Got Star Wars Battlefront, got
nice.
Destiny, Fallout 4, Rocket League. Got them all in, and I got them all now. And so it's just been a crazy binge to get on them all like over the last couple months because I waited a little bit. Black Friday came around and got the PS4 all set up, and everything's rocking and rolling. Jumped into Fallout for some hours, and messing around with Battlefront. So it's a crazy time for video games in my household right now, trying to get work done in games.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm going through the same thing too. I hadn't played for a while after I left Disney, just because I was trying to get out of games, and then here I am again.
Yeah.
But I started playing StarCraft 2 again. I picked up Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, that's I still have to get that.
I hadn't gotten Legacy of the Void yet, but Heart of the Swarm, and then I finished Bastion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was. I had gotten halfway through for some reason, and I think I never finished it, but I finished it finally. And now I'm hoping to start Life is Strange, more
cool.
indie stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, Life is Strange. Actually, well, speaking of that, we'll jump down to that for the game awards wrap up. The games for change, like the ones that made an impact in society, that was actually the winner. Life is Strange. So,
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be playing that game as well.
Yeah, so Square Enix, published that, and so yeah, that's a pretty cool. I have not played that game or seen too much of it, so I'm intrigued. Do you know much about it, Charlie? Because I'm not super versed on it.
Nothing. I don't know. I've only seen just pictures,
Right.
and it looks amazing.
Right, exactly. And I hear the story is great. It's just kind of a game changer. I'm interested to pick that up one of these days soon. So the best indie game this year, of course, was Rocket League. Oh yeah. So I think Rocket League is a cool story, personally. The game first came out, or a game analog to it came out in 2008, I think it was, and it was called like Hyper Rockets Powered Car Speed, something crazy long name. Send the corrections in, people. But it was a funny name. They were kind of leaning into that funny thing, and it wasn't well received. So 5, 6, 7 years later, they reskinned it, redid the mechanics, updated it. It's basically the same game, renamed it Rocket League, and it is a huge explosion. And it's just a few guys made the game, and now it's like the number one game, up there everywhere. And it actually won 2 awards, actually. So we'll go into it. It actually won also the best sports and racing game.
Oh, that's cool.
Of the year.
Wow.
And it got second to the best multiplayer game. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So this is an indie game that just kind of took the market by storm. It came out in July, I think.
Well, this is the idea of what I love behind like indie development. If you would have approached like a big studio, like, "Hey, I got this idea. What if we had these like rocket cars that were like playing soccer?" They'd be like, "Get out of my office." But indie guys, a couple of guys sitting down on the weekend throughout, late nights, whatever, cranking out some code, putting this game together. The indie guys are willing to take a shot. They're willing to do something different, and you just don't, and you gotta kind of develop fast and furious when you're doing indie stuff. You kind of throw some stuff together, see if it's gonna work, see if people like it. And if it does, you double down on it and move farther. But if it seems to flop, yeah, you might maybe put a few days' work, a few weeks of work into it, and just kind of heave the code off to the side and start something else. And You know, that's what I love about indie development games, because you're going to see way more interesting stuff out of the indie realm than you are out of these big studios. Why do you think you see Call of Duty 4 and this Part 5 and this Part 8? Because they just know it works and they're not willing to do anything else and just spend hundreds of millions of dollars on these blockbuster games and just kind of keep reselling the same game over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I totally agree. That's kind of why I went indie from being in corporate for a while.
Right, yeah. That switch was, I mean, and that was a conscious choice. I mean, it's kind of funny. There's the two schools of thought, I think, and we mentioned it quickly. I think, John, you weren't quite here yet, but Charlie and I were talking briefly. There's a new term that I heard. I think it was last week. It's called triple I. And it's, the big AAA titles, Call of Duty, Metal Gear Solid, right. Fallout, right? Well, Rocket League started out as an indie, like for the little I. Well, it's now a, quote, triple I, because it's like big-time indie. And so, so that's like this new term I heard, and I was like, it was kind of gross. I'm like, ew, I don't think I like it. But at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. And so I was talking to Charlie. I was like, hey, indie developers, they develop for the love of games. They develop because they want to make something new. They have the creative mind, the spirit. Mm-hmm. But we all need to make money. And we all want to do something we love and get paid for it, right? So now indie developers not necessarily want to be multimillionaires, but they still want to be able to make games for a living. So the fact that Rocket League went, quote, explosion and now is a triple I is maybe not necessarily the goal all the time, but it is the goal. You want to sell your game. So right. I don't know what I think about that, but the conscious and there's two schools of thought on that. There's the indie developer who is like, oh, I'm anti triple A and like, oh, I just want to make easy. I'm going to make whatever I want. I don't care who buys it. Whatever. It's just my game. And I say a kind of a weird, funny voice to that because I don't like the extreme on anything like that, on any platform, whether it's game development, sports, politics. But then there's the other indie developers like, hey, I love making games, and I'm sure I'd love to get paid for it, but I still like making these games. So there's the two schools of thought, and I think the people kind of sticking towards the whole, oh, I'm indie stigma is kind of a weird thing. And so what I was interested with you, Charlie, is you made the switch from big time down to indie. I guess I don't mean down, but over to indie. Mm-hmm. And is a conscious choice, and I'm kind of interested in what kind of school of thought you are on that. Like, are you? I don't know.
It's for me. It's always been more of the marketing. The marketing is really to your audience. It's like we see this a lot now, where you have the mainstream corporate entities of a restaurant to food truck, where we have now
food trucks.
Right. But it's like the niche, right? So corporate fulfills kind of like a mainstream, kind of make it mainstream, make it standardized, but yet the indies are like the mom and pop shops, because mom and pop businesses still are very big businesses in America. They're like the foundation still. So they're still the ones who are, I can have a great living, having a mom and pop, just serving the same type of people we have, but it's doing what we love to do. So like the hipster kind of gastropubs became a very like niche, but yet it took off. Like that's kind of what indie represents. Like let's kind of find a niche audience that we want to play with, build a really interesting app that they're going to become our like biggest marketers, and then they become viral, and then they're the one pushing our product because that's relevant to them. They love that perspective that we play. Versus corporate always had to do the safe way of what's the return on investment.
ROI,
right?
Yep.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, but creativity sometimes needs to not have that leash. It needs to be able to go out there, play, and then come back and say, "Look, this is what I found out." It's kind of crazy.
This didn't work, but this worked.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting now is now that I've been in the startup and a community now, which is a very much indie community for businesses. I'm starting to see that corporates are going and now doing incubating new tech companies. Hey. So Disney's got their own accelerator where they're incubating the new startups because they're the ones that are like innovating and creating. And It's to
That's
me
what we do. That's what RaptorCow is. Yeah.
exactly. Indie to me means innovation because they're not going to be tied down to any rules and any kind of thought patterns because they got nothing to lose and they're hungry for making something fun and interesting.
And this is any industry. You're hitting the nail on the head. John said it earlier too. You guys are both right. This is anything. Like look at all these movies now. Look at like the film industry.
Yes,
look
exactly.
at even any kind of products like cars and any kind of products to the mass consumers. The big corporations just double down on the stuff that works. Like innovation is really, really hard to come by nowadays because it is so risky.
Well, yeah, with the big corporations, there's so much red tape and blah, 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 and corporate rules and corporate policies. It's like, you know, if you want to take a chance, you got to plan a year out, you know, like,
or 5 years out because they have a 5-year plan.
Yeah. And that's why Disney is doing these incubators because, again, it's like you just get 10 or 20 guys, give them, you know, $10,000, $20,000 each, see what they can do. And 1 out of 20 might be a home run. There you go. That's all you need, that one home run out of 20. Yep. And you know, so and with the incubators, it gives Disney that flexibility to really, you know, produce, you know, the startups call them MVPs, the minimum viable product, and you see what works, what doesn't. Heave stuff to the side and double down on stuff that seems to work.
Exactly.
And that's what the indie developers can do. And that's what, again, what I love about, you know, any sort of indie development, even like indie films, indie music, people can take chances and are willing to take chances. And that's where you're really going to see some really cool stuff coming out of the indie realm. And so that's why I just gravitate to, you know, more indie stuff, just because you're going to see a much cooler innovations and things that you normally wouldn't see out of that realm.
Yeah, well, like Disney and things like with the incubators and like you said, just give $20,000 to a bunch of guys or see whatever works. That's a safe way for them to take risks. They can put the risk on the indie person. So if they fail, that's them failing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so you know, I think people in indie, the pioneering spirit is what America is, what the thing is. So having that, us going out and exploring the unknown and doing the new things, is pretty awesome. And the toughest thing is nowadays, so many people, like history has gone on so long that everything has been done. You know, so there's nothing is new.
Right.
But there's new ways to think about something, or taking the old ideas and putting them together in unique ways. And that's what the indie dev community can start doing. And I think that's what they are doing. And I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a little bit of also when, this is when, even when we do an indie game, like there's a lot of processes that we learn ourselves to develop a game, to develop anything. And corporations tend to get to like so many processes that the creative mind starts to become too bogged down by processes. And I think that's where it is when you focus too much on what works, you end up just focusing on one particular path to a solution. It's like a video game, right?
You
like
pigeonhole yourself,
Yeah, so like you can choose to branch out, and that's what we love is everyone's different, and that's what we love about us is what we're all very unique, and that's what we should take into account. And I think that's where a corporation a lot of times can't handle because there's a lot of processes involved in like developing things at these bigger studios. It's like huge pipelines, and games have changed. I mean, Unity's changed the game.
Yeah, a lot of things have. So
yeah.
Well, there you go. Like, so best indie game, Rocket League. Good job on you guys, indie on Rocket League for taking the chance. And then the best thing about Rocket League, what I think, is that story is, you know what, they liked it. they did their game jam. They made the first one. It flopped, and they were like, you know what, this is still a good idea. Screw it. I don't care what the shit they say. We're gonna do this anyway. We're gonna do it again because we think it's awesome. And then they did it again. They did it better. They learned from their mistakes and they came back. And now they're winning indie game of the year. So so I think that's a good story of success and indie development. So
well, and they were probably maybe too far ahead of their time when they came over like 5 years ago. Maybe people saw them like, yeah, I don't get it, or this isn't. But I forgot what that saying is. It's like, 2 steps ahead, you're a martyr. 1 step ahead, you're a leader. Yeah. So, they might have just been too far ahead at the time. They had kind of, dusted it off and brought it back to the people, and then everyone was ready for it. Right.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, moving on to the next category, we have Best Mobile Handheld Game this year, and it was Lara Croft Go. Pretty cool game, actually. Tomb Raider, like kind of turn-based strategy type thing. It's pretty cool. Have you had a chance to pick that up, Charlie, and mess with that at all?
No, I have not. I have not picked up any of these games that were on the Game Awards, so I'm really happy. That's like my shopping list.
No, seriously, go
Christmas
down.
time.
A lot of they're all big time. They're all pretty legit. RaptorCow Go is pretty cool. You can have a lot of fun. It's only like, well, I mean, at the time when it first came out, it's only like $4.99, and on the App Store, yeah, and it's a pretty cool game. It's really robust. You can get a lot of hours out of it, a lot of replayability. So
Nice.
good on them. So RaptorCow Go. Best narrative. This game is pretty cool. I guess you can call it a game, but Her Story, indie games again. So yeah. This actually won 2 kind of indirectly. It won the best narrative, and this is an entirely narrative-driven game. It's just it's videos, screens, and with prompts and diverging narratives and choices, and you got to go through and see all the videos and try to figure out the story. Yeah, about an hour and a half, 2-hour experience, but it's based on all videos, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it won the best narrative story because the story was great about it. But what's also cool is there was a category in the Game Awards for best performance, and that's for either like a mocap person, motion capture, or like a voice actor or something like that. And for this sense, it was Viva Seifert, who actually was the woman in the videos. She got the best performance in Her Story. So 2 on them for an indie game. So good job. Indie game's coming back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very awesome. Let's see. Moving on down the list. What else we got here? Oh, yes. Metal Gear Solid 5. Got to talk about that, right? So Metal Gear Solid 5, best soundtrack. That's pretty, that could have been up for Game of the Year, for sure. That's the one game I need to pick up still, because Metal Gear Solid is one of my favorite series. So, yeah,
When was it released?
Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yeah.
September
Okay.
20. Yeah, so it's not too late, but yeah, it's huge, crazy, awesome game. Yeah, number 4 came out in 08, June of 08. I remember that because I played it all summer. I got it and I played it nonstop for like 20 hours. I beat it in 3 days, and then I just kept playing it over and over and over. Yeah, because Metal Gear Solid, that's my favorite series. So,
yeah, it's a great series.
Oh man, I love it, and I've been looking forward to this, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. And now, now that I got the systems all good and everything ready to roll, that's the last pickup. Actually, I still have to get StarCraft 2 because I have to get Legacy of the Void because I'm a huge StarCraft fan. We got to get on that. We got to play together, Charlie, for sure.
We definitely do.
We got to get on that. That's a definite. But yeah, so yeah, one best soundtrack, decent. Yeah, like I said, that's a game that could be up for Game of the Year in the argument for a lot of places. And people like GiantBomb.com, like they do a Game of the Year every year. That'll definitely be in their discussion. So, best shooter. We're gonna jump into like the different categories now. Splatoon on the Wii U. So the Wii U not doing great, but Splatoon, it won beat out Destiny, beat out Halo, beat out Call of Duty.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah. So Nintendo coming with it. I mean, this is a new game. This is what I like is Sony, Microsoft, Metal Gear Solid 5. You have freaking Call of Duty 94. You have all these games. Uncharted 4. You have all these huge iterations. Here's a new IP, Splatoon.
Yes.
Came out. I want to say July, and it is just taking the internet by storm. Brand new property, crazy new idea. This little squid kids with guns shooting paint and taking over the map by painting your color all over the thing. Like that's what it is. The multiplayer game, and it is unique and crazy. And it got best shooter, and it's a new IP, and that's. I think of all the big time game companies, I think Nintendo still has the ability to be innovative, and they lean they still have that indie spirit.
Yeah,
that's why the Wii U flopped because they're just like, we're going to do this again. But I think maybe more the Wii U flopped because they did the whole corporate thing. They're like, well, the Wii was awesome. Let's just make something that's very close to it because people liked it, right? Instead of taking the next big step and innovate.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
I think that's what they're doing with the next one.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're going to do their own thing.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about Nintendo. They have their fan base that is totally loyal. And so they're willing to let Nintendo gamble because they know Nintendo is going to try and do something cool and innovative. And hey, not everything works out, but when it does, they come up with some cool stuff. And
Right.
like you said, Ted, they're really the only bigger company that's willing to still roll the dice.
Exactly.
And if they help develop with the developers, really build the content out. Because I heard that like back in the days, it was much tougher to develop with Nintendo, just because they weren't helping like developers kind of build out their content. So
Right.
Yeah, they're more in-house, more worried about their stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Yes, so Splatoon, best shooter, awesome. Best action adventure game was Metal Gear Solid 5. Let's kind of bounce through these ones so we can finish up to get into the PSX. Best role-playing game, Witcher, again. Witcher won that. Best fighting game, Mortal Kombat X. There you go. Mortal Kombat X is actually taking the gaming industry by storm in the sense since it came out last year it's a big time in the competitive community. It's actually a tier 3 esports game now. So it's like, so it's really, really, high up on the esports. The ESL, they're repping it pretty hard. So, Mortal Kombat X.
Do you know if they fixed it on Steam? I guess it was quite atrocious on Steam when it first came out. It was like totally broken.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, like the loading screen, it is fixed. You can play it now on PC.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good to go. But you're right on the nose with that. That and every other game nowadays is broken on PC. But when it first comes out, it's a mess. But no, it is good. But it is being, that's one of the bigger esports type games. So it's pretty good. Best multiplayer game, Splatoon again. There you go. So Splatoon edged out Rocket League. Rocket League was number 2, and so that's the kind of indie spirit game, even though it's made by Nintendo. And then best sports and racing game, we got Rocket League, like I said. And then the best family game, this could have been up for a game of the year as well, which it was, is Super Mario Maker. That game is amazing. Yeah. I don't know if I want to drop the money on a Wii U just for that game, just for the game. But honestly, if someone gave me a Wii U, I would go buy Mario Maker just for that. That's the only game I would play. It's so awesome.
Yeah, one of my sons wants that for Christmas, Mario Maker.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's such a great game for game design.
Okay.
It's such a great game for game design, right? Like to just learn like level making. Mm-hmm. It's so creative and so awesome.
It is amazing. Yeah. Like if you get him Mario Maker, John, like that's a win. Like totally, you won't have to get him another game forever. Like that is awesome.
We went to Target the other day and he got sucked into it there. They had it on display, and you can play it.
And it's is that the younger one?
Yeah.
Oh man, like even the older son, he'll it, dude. It's so great. Like, that is worth the purchase. Yeah, so. Yeah, for sure. That's a great game. It's so much fun. It's so intuitive. It's like mentally stimulating, and it also brings them back to old school games. So it's not
exactly,
it's Mario, and
that's right. It's like a generation bridger, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It gets them away from freaking watching Twitch and playing Minecraft. Like get away from Minecraft and Twitch and play Mario. Even though you're kind of doing the same thing, because you can share your levels and play. But it's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, so awesome. Well, that kind of wraps up the awards for the Game Awards. Pretty cool show. Everything was great. But also, what happened was PSX.
Oh, you got to give us the info on the after party. Did you make it to that?
No, I didn't. I'm an old man. I'm an old man. I did not go. So
you were supposed to get jacked up on Red Bull and balls and stuff, and you could have stayed up.
When you get old and the bones start creaking, no. Sometimes, it's like after party, bed. And there was a time in my life where it would just be, like, here's the little stories. When I was working for the Vikings, I was like 24 years old, and I was younger than all the players except for like maybe 4 on the team, like the real rookies. And so like, I was their age, so they would look at me and we'd have fun, right? Well, it would be, I made friends with the players, and they would go out and party, hardcore NFL guys. Well, I'd be working until like 7, 8 at night, and then they'd come in and lift, and one of the guys, I won't name him, he'd be like, "Hey, Teddy, we got this big club we're going to tonight. You want to come?" I'm like, "No, man, I gotta work till like 8, and I don't have any clothes here or whatever." He's like, "Yeah, the party starts at 8, man." And I was like, "I can't go." Well, he's like, "All right, just don't worry about it." And he's like, "Just be out front at 8 o'clock." And I was like, "Okay." So I go out front, and there's a limo out there with a change of clothes in there, and it sends me to the club, the party, and then we're partying and whatever, having fun, and then I got to work at 5:30 in the morning, and it's like 4:30 at this point. I'm like, crap, I got to go. And so he's like, all right, don't worry about it. So the limo takes me back to work and just drops me off. And then I go because we had a locker room like in the coaches room. I had all my work clothes there, so it was fine. I showered and went right to work, worked all day, and then another guy. Same day, and then that next day, like 6:30, he was like, after dinner and the last meetings, he's like, "Hey, man, we got another party tonight. You want to go?" And I was like, "No, man, I haven't slept." He's like, "Just be out front at 7:30." Same exact thing, and I did. That was my days back in the day. So I've had my fair share of times when I've gone out and stayed up for 3-4 days straight. But that was in the youth. And I definitely had. 1 or 2 or 6 Rockstars or Red Bulls.
Yeah.
The most fun thing was trying to stay awake around your boss. Around the head strength coach when
exactly.
We'd be at the dead time. There'd be no lifting groups in there, and I'd just kind of like be like nodding off, like,
just lay down on the bench press bench and catch a few winks.
Yeah, no, I'd be at the desk and holding my clipboard and just kind of like having to do inventory or something. Like writing some workouts, just kind of eyes drooping and trying to whoop. The head bob.
Doing the head bob.
Oh yeah,
head bob.
For sure. Yeah, that was the time. So yeah, those days are firmly behind me. I am now a grandpa, but when it comes to gaming, if I'm at my house, I'll stay up all night gaming. But that's the temptation is real right now. Now that I got all these games sitting in front of me, it's just like, should I play till 3 a.m. or should I get up at normal time? And
so, do you guys have to consider whether or not you want to complete the full game too? Just because I'm a completionist and I struggle.
Oh, totally.
Am I allowed to complete the game just because there's so many other games on my queue to play?
That's the difficulty. That's what I'm running into now. It's like, okay, I have Fallout sitting in front of me. Destiny is sitting in front of me. I have, Battlefront, and by the time we're going to talk about this, by the time you guys hear this, the listeners, the Battle for Jakku will be up. The new DLC for Battlefront will be out. So that's the new expansion, and so that's going on. And then, once you get Metal Gear Solid, and that's a huge open world game you could dump 100 hours into, and then, there's, StarCraft you can dump 100 hours into, and it's just... I like to complete everything. I have to. I play games so slowly. Like, I'm not a very good Twitch guy. I'm not a very good Twitch guy. I'm boring. I was streaming on Twitch the other night when I first got it all hooked up. I was playing Fallout, and I was doing the character creation, and people in the chat were like, dude, move on. It's okay. The nose is fine. I was like, I was laughing.
Like, no, it's not.
I was trying to make it perfect. And then, like, the game intro, I'm going through, I'm looking at every box, every band, and they're like, there's nothing in there. Just keep going. And I was like, so then people started dropping out of the stream. I was like, okay. And then it was like down to like one person. And I was like, hey, buddy, how's it going? You like me? I'm slow. I like to look at every single thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, but whatever. I feel your pain, Charlie. Like, the completion is in me. It's just I'm trying to learn to mainline the stories and go back later.
Well, as a game designer, you appreciate, and I mean, for me, it's like, oh, where did you hide that? Oh, good try. You didn't get me this time. Like, you look for these extra pieces because you know that, like, that's where I would totally hide it. It was like, oh, good hiding spot. Like, I end up going through that, like how a game designer would like test their own games.
Yeah, I see that, and what's scaring me now is I didn't want to start Fallout, but the other day when I was loading everything up, the PSN was down for a day, and so right when I got my PlayStation, like it was like down. I was like, oh, that's great. So I can't play Battlefront online. I can just play the training missions, which are fun. Okay, but I want to play online. I want to play the game. But so I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, I have, like, I'm all alone. I have like 2.5 hours before I have to go to sleep. I'm putting in Fallout. So I put it in, and then I get out of the vault, and I guess look around, and I'm like, oh no. It's just too much. It's just like, it's scary. Like I want to just go run in the distance and just go run and just see it, but I'm just like, I have no clue. I haven't played a Fallout game in so long, so I'm an Elder Scrolls guy, and I play a little bit of Fallout, so like I still got to learn the mechanics more, and it's just so big and expansive, and I'm looking at this, so I'm just like, I'm just going to do the missions for a little while, and then I'll go run away, but there's just so much, it's like overwhelming. I'm like, what do I do?
Fallout really does make you, because you when you walk out that vault, you're like, oh shit, post-apocalyptic, here we go.
No, that's exactly. I had that oh shit moment. I was just like, oh no, like like when you come out, like the Codsworth, your robot's like, hey, follow me, let's search the town, and I'm like, and then you search the town, and it's like right there, you get out of the vault, and you go to your house, blah blah blah, and then that should be maybe a 5-minute deal. An hour later, I've searched every house, got a bunch of stuff, and then they just throw you into the building mechanic. You can just randomly build stuff, and I was like, okay, I don't even want to mess with this now because I've heard a lot about it. And then Codsworth's like, okay, you go to the next town and check in over there, and so now they're like, okay, have fun. I have a switchblade. That's all I got. So I'm like, do I go run, or I got to run to the next town? Oh no! Like, I'm loaded full of junk. I've picked up everything because I don't know what is good yet. So I just picked up everything, and I'm like, so it's that feeling of like, I have a lot to learn, but I also have a company to run, and I have work to do, and things, and I just moved, and things that are in my life that I have to be taken care of. But it's just like, I want to just take a left and just go run straight for an hour and see what happens. And then like retrace every step, and then pick up every route, pick up every piece of trash, go through every barrel, and then double back, and then go to every location, check it off, and like get my Excel spreadsheet like we did on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that's my problem I'm running into with Fallout. I'm overwhelmed, but
it's those achievements. Oh my god!
I always bring it up, but I platinum Skyrim like it was my job. I just knocked that out, like, and same thing with Assassin's Creed. I do everything. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to get into that. So yeah, so moving on, PSX also happened. That was just recent. Yeah, a lot of stuff came out of PSX. Wow. So like a couple.
What's PSX?
Is that PlayStation Experience? Yeah, this is the second round. Like last year, they started the PlayStation Experience. PlayStation did their own convention. It's kind of a community-based thing where it's developers showcasing game, but Sony's doing a thing where they're holding back a lot of their announcements. They're announcing all their big stuff at their convention. So last year was amazing. It was like big. It was like it blew everyone out of the water. And this year was like doubly that. And so it's a community event, so people, like the public, can go. Developers are invited to showcase their games. They do announcements, keynote speaking. It's like a huge deal. And this year was in the Bay Area. Last year was in Vegas. This year's in the Bay. And yeah, and it was just humongous. They had so many things in there. And so, shoot, I don't even know where to start, except for I do know where to start. We're going to start with Final Fantasy VII, the remake. So, have you seen the new trailer, Charlie?
I have not, and I almost clicked it while we were on the conversation, but I didn't know if it was going to just play in the background.
Oh man, it is wow. That's all I gotta say is
Fantasy VII.
As wow.
Yeah,
it looks cool.
I think I saw a post. Someone posted on Facebook. It could be wrong, but I think someone posted like they're gonna break Final Fantasy VII down into different stories. So it seemed like you're
news hog. Yeah, that's my next story. No, yeah, exactly. No, like, yeah, you're right. No, you're actually right, John. Like, yeah, it is true. Like, yeah. What do you think about that kind of episodic?
I think you have to do it right. I think it's fine, but I think you have to do it right.
Right. Well, okay. So let's go back a tiny second. The trailer looked amazing. So it fleshed out, because again, the first trailer that was announced last year was just kind of like.
Teaser. Yeah,
it was cool. Yeah, but it was a teaser. It was like 5 minutes, like 5 seconds, and they showed the back of Cloud and his hair, and then his sword, and they showed like Barrett's, muscles from the back, and that was it. And you knew it was them, and they had the music. Then this one showed their faces, showed them moving. It showed the whole intro scene. When they jump off the train and go off and make a Reactor 5, the whole type of deal, and it actually showed the video and the whole gameplay footage of how the game is going to play, and it seems more action oriented, so like an action RPG, which is cool. But it looked amazing. They showed gameplay; it looked awesome. The FMV cutscenes were cool, but I didn't think the graphics for the game itself were absolutely mind blowing. They're cool, they're very good, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is the next thing. But it was just it was definitely a step up. Obviously, it was cool, but it just looked great. And what they mentioned, so John, talking about what you said, you're totally right. They're going to make it episodic, and developers said it's because the sheer size and scope and data required to remake Final Fantasy VII is just too much for one game. So they have to release in chunks.
Now, are you going to have this? My question was, and I didn't see anywhere in the story that I read, but these episodes, are you going to have to pay for each new one, or does that come with, hey, you get Final Fantasy VII, and when these episodic updates come out, boom, you'll get them?
Well, my thought is now the new landscape of the games with free-to-play models and microtransactions, and now the season pass. Like, that's the new thing. So what they'll do, so games, you buy the game, right? And then you buy a season pass, and that gives you all the DLC. Or you could not buy the season pass for like $39 is like a typical season pass. And it gives you like 4 DLC expansions. Or you can buy each DLC for $20, right?
Right.
So it's like $80, you save half off. So that's what I'm thinking. You can buy like Final Fantasy VII Gold Edition, or Sephiroth Edition, and get it's like, maybe $100, and you get all the episodes all together, or you can buy in piecemeal. I'm thinking maybe it's like going to be like $40 an episode, and I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it into 10 episodes or like 4 parts or 3 parts. And I think like 3 parts would be good, because just do it like they did on Final Fantasy VII, like from 3 discs, like first 3 discs, boom, second disc, and then third disc. That's perfect. If they broke it up. Is
it only on PS4?
That's a good question. I think they'd be dumb to do that. They should port it to Xbox and PC, but
because I mean, because kind of like what you said, Ted, if they did go, because if they're on the PS4, the game, I think the games are on Blu-ray. So I mean, each Blu-ray disc holds like 80 gigs of info. Mm-hmm. So you totally could load up 3 Blu-ray discs and be like, here's everything. Right. But the Final Fantasy guys. When was the last? Like, I don't remember what system the last one was made for. Do you remember?
Oh no, they've been doing PS3. They've been doing a lot, like NPCs. Okay. Yeah. There's like Final Fantasy 14 and 15, and actually Final Fantasy 15 is coming out next year. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they've been doing like Final Fantasy 13X and 13. Yeah, they've been coming out for a while, but like this is just like the old. This is obviously Final Fantasy 7 is my tied for my first favorite game all time, like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII. Those are like my 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is like, I'm one of those fanboys who's like, oh my god, so excited for this.
I'm definitely a Final Fantasy VII fanboy as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, so I've played that game so much. I have the original disc sitting right here, like next to me, like over by the game console area over here. Yeah, the original PlayStation black bottom with the scratches all over them. Yeah, so I mean, I have it on my computer as a emulator mod. Oops, shh, don't tell anybody. But yeah, I'm just interested to see how they do it. If they break it up to like 10 little episodes, I'll be annoyed as hell. But if they break it up, like 4 big chunks, sure, I'm okay with that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah,
because the pace I play games, I'm not gonna smash it out hardcore, and especially if it's a new experience, I'm going to do everything go really slow. I've been waiting 20 years for this,
Right.
So I think the explanation that they gave was pretty okay. He was like, hey, it's the game is so big, the scope is so huge of this undertaking that we're going to require that, and I totally get that. So just seeing what they did with it, I understand.
I guess what's going to matter is how developed the actual game is when you first buy it. Like Destiny, totally, that was like a flop from, the game actually became more developed a year later. Right. So Final Fantasy needs to come out of the gate with a strong first release and not have to wait until that first episodic, download comes out to make it a real game.
Well, I think that's a little different because Final Fantasy VII is an actual game. Like, Destiny was like a shell, and they wanted to make this open living world with like content updating it, and so they just made the shell empty. And so, but this Final Fantasy VII is a game already, and it is chock full. It's got its own lore, world. Like it's totally like ingrained in everything. So I think, and then even seeing the trailer for the first Mako reactor when you come off the train, like it is like spot on, and it looks super flushed out. Like they have done every detail. It is like it's done well. I'm happy with what I saw. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII is coming. I could talk for hours about that, but we're gonna move on to a game that comes up a lot, John. Star Citizen.
Oh yeah,
they finally announced a trailer, and he did a trailer for it at PSX, and I watched it, and I was like, huh, okay. Yeah, exactly. That was the reaction. I was like, I see where you're going. Cool. Yeah, it was just. I'll be excited to see what happens next. And they showed all this ships exploding and blowing up, and the graphics were fine, not great. Looked like a MMO style graphics. So like. Flushed down like 3D and polished, but it can't be super detailed because you have to render hundreds of players and like stuff. So it's like so it's like okay, and the movement was kind of generic and everything. And they showed a lot of like spacewalking where like you're jumping from like a platform or to like you're like in like a spacesuit, like jumping from like one nodule of a space station to another one, like and grabbing it, and they showed spaceships docking and blowing up, and shooting and gun battles, and it looked cool. I mean, it looks like a open world fantasy, open universe, I should say, fantasy experience. But yeah, it wasn't anything fantastic. So we'll see what happens with that. $85 million, and we'll see.
We'll see where the money went.
Yeah, right. So. I was actually one of the news articles I was popping around. They were looking to hire a bunch of marketing managers to revamp their marketing department. So maybe they're not happy with their marketing. So,
well, if we see Mark Hamill with a new Lamborghini or something, we'll know where some of the money.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So this is the last thing I want to get in because we could talk a lot about PSX. So many things were announced. Like it was a lot of stuff, but. This is a topic that is really important to Charlie, I would say. And speaking of Charlie and to you, John, and we talked about it a lot, is VR. And there was about 30% of the show was dedicated to VR. Like they had a whole VR section. They had VR like press conferences, and they had a bunch of games they were showcasing, like a lot, and just dedicated VR games, not games that are like. Ported to VR, but VR games like PlayStation VR games that were made specifically to be played in VR, which is a huge risk, right? Like, because you're segregating your audience right off the bat. It's like, okay, they can only play this in this new system that we have no idea how much it's going to cost. Is it going to be $400 on top of a PlayStation, so $800 total, or what is it, right? Yeah, they announced a lot of games, so there's 6 of them big ones. There was Rez, Eagle Fight, 100-Foot Robot Golf, Ace Combat 7, Zombie Taxi Game, and Job Simulator.
Job Simulator?
That is what I'm going to get into. So
I'm interested to hear about that one.
Yeah,
this sounds like a total Japanese game.
It is, but this is the kind of thing that we talked about VR. VR is an experience, right? Yeah. And we talked about the difference between AR and VR. AR is the tool, VR is the experience, right? This is an experience. I've never been a gourmet chef before in my life, right? Like I cook. Actually, last night I made some mean pork chops. I'll tell you what. I made some Asian fusion pork chops, and it was like a kind of like a Japanese rub on them. They were pretty awesome. I ate 3. Yeah. So anyway, but no. So I've never been a gourmet chef, quote, before, besides in my own kitchen. And in Job Simulator, you can be. What? You can be a gourmet chef. You take the controllers, you grab the stuff out of the pot, you chop it up, you put it in there, you take it to the tables. Like, yeah. You can be a convenience store cashier. Yeah. And I think you can like get robbed and stuff like that.
Please tell me you can get robbed.
Yeah. You can be an office cubicle worker and like make copy and throw like paper, like balls of paper over the cubicle walls and stuff, and just so this is what Job Simulator is, and this is the one that was like taking it by storm. Everyone was like, "Wow, this looks crazy and fun." So
are all the games developed by Sony? These 6 games, are they all developed by Sony?
Sony or Sony Studios, yeah, or first-party studios, yeah.
I think that's what it would take if they're gonna go kind of both feet into this.
Well,
they need
this is all for PlayStation VR. That's why.
Yeah, they need to be in complete. I don't think they can let like a third party develop for this just yet.
Right.
They need to be all in on it themselves just to show everyone this is what you can do with our tools.
Right. Yeah. This is all for. But see, this is all for the PS VR platform, though. This is not for Oculus or all that stuff. Yeah. So. Right. Yeah, so this is all that. Another one that was taking everybody by storm was, so I thought the Job Simulator was funny. Another one was pretty good, was everyone loved it, was the 100-foot robot golf. So this is a game, literally, where you're like the size of Godzilla, but you're these like anamorphic-looking robots, like, and with like glowing eyes, just like kind of a tin like Lego-style head and glowing eyes, and you just play golf through the city and break the city down. Like, what?
That's funny.
Yeah, like you're like playing golf in New York City, like knocking buildings over, and like just playing golf through a city or through like areas and stuff, like trees, and like just knocking stuff over. And everyone was loving that because you're 100 foot tall and like they simulate it and you feel like that and you're running around and you and your partner are robots. And it's just called 100-foot robot golf.
That'd be cool to make a game. I think it was only for the Neo Geo maybe, but along that same lines, it'd be cool. It was a game called King of Monsters, and you're basically kind of like Godzilla or like a King Kong type monsters going through the city and like destroying buildings.
Like Rampage, Rampage.
Yeah, like Rampage. Yeah, so it'd be awesome to do VR like that. That would be really cool too.
Yeah, it would be cool. Like just Rampage, VR.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It could easily be like a workout simulation.
Exactly.
Where you're like break stuff up with, just a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
That'd be funny. Like gym simulator. We should make that game. Let me get I did my workout today. How much you lift? Oh, 6,000 pounds on the bench press. No, you didn't. Oh, I put this on. Oh, you did. Nice. And there's like a hot chick walks by, you can like turn and look at her and you try to impress her in the gym. You get points for doing that or whatever.
Well, I think back to one thing, back to Sony. Them doing their own VR Sony thing. It's still the Wild West of VR, and whoever captures the VR niche is probably going to make a good amount of money. So it's in everyone's best interest. Still, no one's locked down on the Oculus. No one's locked down on anything yet. So if you can make yourself the go-to VR console, then you're going to lock down a good chunk of money in the foreseeable future. Even if AR and VR are still kind of battling it out, there's still going to be a spot for both. So if you're that console that locks down, like, hey, if you want to play a VR game, you got to get PlayStation.
For sure.
It makes a lot of sense in console just because there are people already buying the expensive hardware, so that's the same niche that would buy a VR device versus like in PC it's much different.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah. So there you go. That's it for news. We talked a lot about news, so I think
a lot of news.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but we have a special guest on this podcast, John, that we want to talk about, and he's got some cool stuff to talk about, right? So we're going to take a break, and we're going to get back with you, Charlie, and talk about everything, and introduce yourself, and going to go with the flow. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with a good friend, Charlie Trinh. He's an awesome developer, producer, founder of an awesome startup called the Game School, and we're here to talk to him a little bit about that and other things he's working on. And we're going to have John, our resident journalist, kind of go with the flow. So, John, take it away.
Oh, hang on! I got to stop my Rampage game here. I'm using Lizzie right now. Hang on.
Nice.
But Charlie, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So the first thing I like to ask pretty much everyone that comes on is, what was that moment for you? Like, I'm assuming probably as a kid, that aha moment. Was it a game you were playing? Was it something that happened in your, like, a particular game maybe where you're just like, this is what I want to be doing when I get older. I want to design games, create games. What was it that made you want to be where you're at now?
It's actually not such. I wasn't so young when I wanted to be a game designer. Actually, it was much later in my life when I want to continue to become a game designer. All through my life, I've been more of a programmer, more of a tech person, techie guy, consultant. And then it wasn't until I got to Disney. I came in as a tech producer at Disney, and it was when Disney was going to double down on more of their game department and develop more. They were looking at advert games and saying we need to change advert games to better Flash-based games. And after I started to do some games for them and producing them, I was hooked on the ability of just seeing myself create a game versus all this time I've been playing games. I didn't realize just almost the addiction I was having making these games. And that's when I felt the calling that no, I think this is what I'm really good at.
That's cool.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
What were you? You said you were a techie guy. What were you before? Like, what kind of?
You just jumped my question.
Oh, see, I traded you back for stealing my news.
Yeah.
My bad.
I've always done actually. Short Circuit is the movie, the kind of story that made me want to.
Johnny Five is alive.
Yeah, Johnny Five
is alive. More input.
Yeah, input. And it was during that time when I decided to go and I want to make robots, and I wanted to go into computer science. And that was the early days of computer science where at USC, I was studying at USC, and they put us in arts and letters and sciences. We were not in engineering because they believed that computer science was a language. So you were to go with the language department and learn French and Spanish and Latin.
I see the reasoning behind it. I do. I definitely see the reasoning, but past remembering commands, it's math and engineering.
It's reasoning good, execution bad.
Yeah.
It's language written for a computer, not for humans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my early days in dabbing into programming, and I've always just had a knack for I've always been more of a creative engineer. Is what I like to say. I'm both creative, where I love to draw, I love art, I love music, but I think very much like an engineer, but I try not to be too much of a dry engineer where it's like just follow the processes and logic. And gaming allow me to do that, where we say I get to be the dungeon master. What? I get to be the experience these children can have and remember, and that gave me such, like, you felt responsible for the creation you were having, and that kind of made me more appreciative of game development for what it is, which is you're creating experiences for others to live, to experience.
I have two questions before we get to a Disney question. Two total geek questions. One, favorite programming language?
I'm going to say the one that's my most nostalgic. I think it's Turbo Pascal.
Nice.
Totally geeky answer.
It was the first language that I wrote in, and I made a fake eye scanner because it was all about, to me, I love what Disney taught me. It's all about the illusion. So my computer science teacher said, there's no eye scanner. I'm like, oh, you think? and I basically tricked them where I would sit in front of the computer and hold down a key stroke on my keyboard to show that was me as the input. And I taught my professor how to do the second key was for him. So the computer would read, "Welcome, Professor," and "Welcome, Charlie Trinh." People, how'd you do that? Let me see. And they would go in front of the computer. They could not figure out the eye scanner.
That is so funny.
Wow.
And the second geek question: what's your favorite text editor?
Lately, I've been playing using Atom. I really like Atom. ATOM.
No VI or Emacs for you then.
Emacs is what I used, and I hated VI. Emacs was just to me like I was forced to use it, so I got good at it. But I would never want to use it again. So, and I think you could appreciate it because it's a much more text based input versus I'm way more GUI. Like use that mouse, like highlight everything.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I hear it. With Emacs, you need like 3 hands also to.
Yeah. Control, and you're doing controls of everything. Control C, Control S, Control E. You know, like just put the word E. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love either of the two. I can get around them pretty quickly. So, awesome. So okay. So now we mentioned that you worked at Disney. So, and you sort of mentioned briefly, like you're getting in, they wanted to do some sort of like advertising gaming. So lead us into kind of some of the stuff that you worked on throughout your time, and then bring us into game school.
Sure. So it was perfect timing too when I got recruited by Disney because it was when Wall-E was coming out. So it was my next kind of evolution of Johnny Five.
Wall-E.
I was kind of reintroduced and followed the robot back into
That is cool.
into this job. And so I unfortunately didn't get a chance to make a game for Wall-E because I came in the phase after that, and you have to be almost like 2 years early in like knowing when your game release is going to be to develop some of these games.
Right.
Well, not necessarily for Flash, but so that was the early days of Flash where you had those advert games where you guys remember like make this basketball in and win a coupon for something, right?
Yeah.
So Disney, and those were really like that was kind of how you were doing digital marketing at the time. Is just these banners.
Punch the monkey.
Yeah, punch the monkey 3 times and be sent to a link. So we decided to say, why don't we make a really good game? Because they brought in all these game guys to produce very fun advert games or Flash games. So that's when we started to make 600 by 800 kind of free Flash games to market the movie. Let's see. Some of my earlier ones were more for Disney Channel. So one of them was Aaron Stone, which was a spy TV show that did only like half a season, and the show was canned. But one of my favorite games was Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That's cool.
Because it was my first time I got to do a fighting game that was casual, but was also for a boy audience. Because at the time we were doing a lot more girl games, just because Disney is a much more girl-oriented audience. And Sorcerer's Apprentice is kind of my first. Like, it did really well on our kind of website just because it was a boys game and it had a good amount of depth for a casual game. And so it started to change our dynamics of that. It's no longer an advert game. It's a solid like story game.
It's like a casual game type.
Yeah,
before
exactly.
Games.
Right. Before casual game happened. So we became more like a casual teams, casual game development team where we build very fun games that you could get enough of the story for the movie. So by the time you get to the movie, you knew the characters and you knew who was doing what, so that you were already invested in the story when you saw it in the theaters. And to children, that's very important because they come in, they go, oh my God, there's this Wreck-It Ralph, and you know, they know the names and they become way more, and so the parents love that because they're like, oh my God, these kids love this. That's kind of what we love about being parents, is we see how like the kids are so responsive to a certain medium, and that's what these games were doing. They were basically prepping them for the movie.
Yeah, I'm actually reading a book right now called Captivology, and it's really kind of hitting that point you're making right now, where they're talking about how is Mario such a successful character, and it's kind of like what you're saying, where you play the game enough, and they get to know the characters, and it preps them for the movie. That way, when they see the movie, there's already a familiarity, and they're already like, oh yeah, I love Wreck-It Ralph, he's awesome, even though they haven't seen the movie yet.
And that is Mario. Why Hollywood goes into industries and takes their licenses, because now you can go to comics and now everyone knows comic books.
Exactly.
So you have already a captivating audience where, dang it, I know it's going to be a really cheesy Fantastic Four, but damn it, I love comic book stories,
Right.
and I'm gonna go watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Definitely. So then towards the end of Disney, like maybe leading up to 6 months or so before you decided to leave, and I don't know if you necessarily knew you wanted to do game school before you left, but kind of bring us to that point of your career.
To that point, I had a lot of experiences in producing games. I was at a point where I had developed also original IP for them for Disney, and that's when I found my calling. It was creating original stories because I was so used to writing licensed stuff. It's almost like Hollywood, right? You're given these stories, you're like, I know these characters, I'll write another story for this character. But suddenly you're like, do anything you want that you can capture any audience. And that was the beginning, like, ooh, I can capture any audience?
Nice.
So after working at Disney for a while, I realized that if I was to start my own original stuff, I had to be outside into the real world to kind of relate with more of the everyday kind of personalities. Just because for me, I love education, and I want to get more into education and not necessarily stay in the entertainment and profit section.
Yeah.
So,
and plus, to work at Disney, if you worked on something while there, they probably had rights to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you had to leave.
Again, the ROI conversation was just very difficult for me to answer when I was still looking for my own stories. Like, what was my story going to be that I'm going to share to the world? That I learned kind of all the pieces that makes a good story, how to put the story through kind of like the transmedia of like social media. And I worked in the marketing part of making games too. So I learned a lot of marketing tricks that got Disney where it's at. So I wanted to kind of find a way to develop my own story. So I kind of left everything, left Disney, left my personal life, I went actually and left the country for 2 months to kind of go through like a walkabout spiritual journey,
Nice.
looking
Where'd you
for
go?
my story. I went to Egypt for
nice.
2 weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then
Egypt is cool.
Egypt is amazing. Egypt is like when we talk about the original storytellers and that still have stories till this day stand, they're one of the civilization that left us stories that we still can't figure out.
Right.
And then I went to Madrid to, it was kind of a layover to my bigger trip, which was Peru. And I went to Peru to, to the city of Cusco and Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
I did. I went to the jungle and did an ayahuasca ceremony, just really looking for who I was or who I was without the external factors of culture or nationality or ethnicity or gender. And so I was really trying to find out myself and what my story was. And I kind of came back and decided to go. I met a great friend in Egypt, Jude, one of my business partner and also one of my founders at Game School. And he kind of took me through Silicon Beach, which is kind of like the new tech hub, tech startup in Santa Monica here in Los Angeles, which is kind of riding the waves of Silicon Valley in San Francisco. And that's kind of where I felt like I got my startup boot camp in all those kind of there's a lot of events that were happening, met a lot of startups. Co-working space is huge.
Yeah.
Where everyone is
Santa Monica is everywhere with that,
Yeah, exactly. So we started 2 companies there where develop Heart Center Tech. It's kind of a way to give recognition to leaders that are leading from the heart in the technology department, the technology industry. Because, when I left Disney, I wanted to look for heart in an industry. So to me, gaming and technology needs that heart where like we can build anything we want. Why do we build things that make things efficient where we can make things that help people? How do we do social good with our technology? Because we can invent anything we want.
Yeah, that's why I build my Linux operating system. There's so much cool stuff we can do with technology, but we can totally make people's lives better. And so that's one of the things behind my operating system that I developed.
Yeah, I'd love to see your operating system and the whole setup you have because that's amazing to me. And do you have a lot of people who are also blind who are using your
Yeah,
operating
it's
system?
used in like 30 countries right now. It's been downloaded in over 30
Wow.
countries.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
Yeah, haven't
Okay.
you've been doing the whole advocacy for accessible open source
so
software, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
we could talk about it after, but no, I love that idea behind the heart tech for sure. So then the second company, that's Game School, then is that right that you guys put
Yeah.
together?
Yeah, so Game School has been a recent connection. It was back this summer actually. I met Jason Matthias from Rhubarb Studio, and he's been at USC. He studied biology and film, and then went and did their graduate program for games. Which USC's got a great gaming program over there. And he came out and he developed his own game, Covalence, which was organic chemistry game. Which, if anyone out there who knows anything about OCHEM, it's like the bane of chemistry's existence, right? Like most people like talk about
I
OCHEM.
actually kind of like OChem. I'm a biochemistry major, actually,
Okay, so
biochemistry and genetics. So
you would really appreciate what he was doing. He was teaching people how to understand covalent bonds, and his game was
hmm
called Covalence. And so we kind of met, and he was kind of developing kind of like a game boot camp, and I was also teaching my own kind of game experience because I felt I had a calling to just share my game experience because, I felt like I left Disney and I hadn't found a way to share that experience, so I was going to just teach, just to kind of let it out there and like share my experience. I didn't know that I was going to go back into games this way, and Jason and I kind of got together, and the three of us started to think about, our curriculum and how it's needed. Because if I want to have better games that are more heart-centered, you kind of need a new type of talent out there that is going to develop games more for social good rather than like for profit. So the
Yeah.
indie automatically fit, but I felt like also we have to talk about the gender neutrality in games and how it needs to be a little bit supported to even out to make it much more neutral, where we are now balanced in the way of the type of games we have, where we're going to have these emotionally connected games that make us come together as people, but also teach us things. And it's still fun, you still want to have fun with these games, yet you still want to like feel like you're growing as a person. And that's kind of where we were going with our games is, can we teach a new kind of generation of game developers where they're not just the AAA guys, where you're going to make a huge game and you're going to be like that wheel and that car for that racing game, but you're going to be part of this storytelling of this game where like you get to make your own game and people can play on the mobile device.
Yeah. So with Game School, then, are you not focusing as much as so I was like, here's how to learn C#, but you're more focusing on here's how games are put together, here's how people strategize, and here's things to think about when you're putting a game together. Do you take it from that angle instead of here's C# and here's how to do this or that?
We take it from what kind of games do you have within you that you want to share right now, and then we talk through that experience. Say, okay, that's a game. Now, how do you think you can make the game? We walk through the logic. Okay, this is what the game is. So let's say we have this, Jason has this amazing hallway experience where we walk into the hallway. So now, explain to me what happens in this hallway and describe to me what we can do in the game. So suddenly there's lava on these colors. So now the ground is lava. Okay, now how do you avoid the lava? And then we go through this experience to go, now, how would you imagine it in a 3D world? And then we go to Unity and we say, here's now this hallway. We create the lava and we create these pieces. And then we go, now, what's the logical thinking behind it where, like, lava hurts? Well, if I touch lava with my character, I lose health. Okay. There's the logical perspective of, like, now that you have that, create a class to say health -1. And so we take a more humanistic approach to how really programming is just logical communication to a logical device. So if you can just explain, because we as human automatically take in subconsciously a lot of cues and then we infer what we think, right? but we don't realize that everything visually is our input. So, when we walk into a room, we may be overly visually stimulated by so many people, but we
Not
know
me.
really quickly, right? Or auditorily stimulated that you
Oh,
have,
yeah,
that you
no, for
recognize
sure.
all the inputs very quickly. So to us, we just break everything down to almost like a child's perspective. A child walks in, doesn't know anything in their room. Now, what it does is looks at one piece of equipment and say that is a human or that is a box or square. And so in games, that's all it is. It's just you create a logic to that piece of object in the game.
I like that approach that you said because I think maybe a big disconnect for maybe some people even learning or understanding programming because it's really, I mean, like we were saying earlier, it is just a language. So so the aha moment for the maybe a programmer, if they don't quite grasp programming, just looking at a screen with some text on it, when you break it down for them, saying that okay, your character touched lava, and now they that hurts them, right? And they see the health -1. When you put it together that way, I think that can make a lot more people that could be programmers that aren't understand it, grasp it a little bit more. And computer science, regular computer science, they don't really cover it that way. They're just like, you should understand 2 + 2 = 4. Like, I shouldn't have to explain it to you in another way.
So I went to school for old school computer science languages.
yeah. Like,
So
C and stuff.
Right. And I felt like a lot of that information, just the correlation to the everyday life is where I feel a lot of times education just segregates everyday life to the information you're teaching. Because everything should have been just, well, do you like growing food and plants and like growing gardens? That should be so easy. Like every kid should know how to do that because they're surrounded by plants hopefully in most cities. But a lot of times I felt like when I learned that, like I would learn it in a classroom and no one ever brought out a plan and suddenly you have to memorize these ideas that plants do this. And you're like, okay, so that's it. And you have to take a test. And like, so you'll never get to see plants and we don't get to grow on plants. And that was where I felt like there's miscommunication of like, how does this information matter to me right now?
Right.
And so for computer science, a lot of people say, I want to learn it because apparently everyone's getting a job with it, but it's very difficult to understand. So we found that games was the missing part, the visual representation that you can understand. Because a lot of people are very visual input, visually inputted. That sounds so computer science termy geeky. And so the computer science is just text and languages. It's like Matrix, right? When you see Neo gets out and you're reading the green code, you're like, you see all that? Oh yeah, this guy's like a red person, a green. It's like probably a very geeky terms, but to us, like we visually could understand. Like even reading a book, in your mind, we see those images,
right?
Totally get it. But people who never understand that language would not be able to understand what that language is doing.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that approach. Like I said, I think that really can bridge the gap for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And produce more programmers.
Classes are written so easily now, like writing classes and function. It's like, dog.pickup.toy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, even Python is really easy with variables and stuff like that too.
And I think that's why Ruby on Rails did so well, just because it was much more friendly English-speaking like language.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really cool. That's awesome. So a little bit more about Game School then. So how does it work? Like, say, can I just
process,
go to like, can I just go to the website and sign up? Is it all like just doing all stuff or?
So you guys can go on the website, www.game-school.com. Gameschool.com was taken, but game-school.com was in. So now it's part of our marketing.
There you go.
Game-school.com.
Someone's squatting on Game School, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Figures.
I mean, we were very happy that Game School was not taken at all. So
I'm surprised.
This is what we realize is it's an underrepresented market. We are finding so many indie guys who are like, I'm so glad somebody's teaching this now. So game-school.com. You can sign up. Also, a newsletter. And right now we're doing workshops. We actually have a workshop coming up this Saturday on Henhai Studios in Burbank. It's in Burbank downtown. You guys can check it out on our website and sign up on Eventbrite. And we're going to be doing a 3-hour intro class where we're going to come in, help you get a game out of kind of brainstorming a game idea. And then from there, we create a world in Unity. And then we put on VR goggles and we walk into that world.
That's cool.
And we say we don't teach you any code the first 3 hours so that you can see how not not say scary, but you know when like people get nervous because it might seem so overwhelming. Yeah, because coding tends to overwhelm people just seeing the code. So we actually have 2 students that we've been working with right now just to test out our curriculum to make sure that it was kind of solid and really well implemented. And we had one student, she came in with no computer background, and now she's making a Galaga-esque type of game on Unity. And she did a hidden object game in like less than 6 weeks.
Wow.
And she's programming, like writing her own language. We're not touching any of her code. Like she's writing it all by herself. So it's really exciting for us to kind of see the progression that the students are able to kind of develop their own games and learn programming. So next year we're looking to develop. We've been kind of going back and forth between these two. We consider 12-week programs, boot camps, because boot camps are very popular right now. People really get the model and it works really well. But we haven't figured out whether it was a 12-week or 6 weeks because a lot of people can't do an immersive boot camp program for like 12 weeks, or the cost is a little bit more expensive. And we want to cater to a much newer audience that are ready to kind of come in but may not have the funds necessarily to get into the industry. So that's why we're, and this is also why, Ted, I was talking to you about this. This is one of our topics we're having is VR. VR is hot. VR is sexy, and the talent is lacking because anyone who has VR talent is working on it right now, and that's it. Like, there's not a huge pool of VR people because VR is so new. So how do we get new people getting into VR, and how do they learn about it? And do they have to go and get jobs at these companies to learn about it, or can they be taught somewhere? And that's where I think colleges and education programs and accreditation programs, they take too long to write curriculums, where VR's now. You know, we wait 2-3 years from now, VR is going to be like...
yesterday.
Yeah, actually, yes. VR was yesterday.
Right.
But we don't have anyone who can teach this, or who can help, develop the industry and kind of bring in the new talent that a lot of VR companies are looking now. So that is kind of the push we're looking for is, we're pushing for VR and helping people build VR experiences, not VR games, just because we understand that VR games are you need a lot more understanding of integration and coding and programming the interactivity of the game. So VR experiences and teaching kind of how to use 360 cameras and creating worlds, but it could be a 3D world, but it's just you walking through a movie and it's in 360. And then the other side is the Unity, or not necessarily Unity, it's the VR through Unity, but it's coding through Unity, a VR experience, versus Unreal and VR, which uses Blueprint.
Cool.
So Blueprint doesn't necessarily, that goes into kind of Object-C. Is it Object-C or C++ in Unreal? I think C++, but that's kind of the two.
C++.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, where we still want to teach the programming in the Unity in one side, and it would be more for the mobile indie kind of game development. But that's...
Yeah, hey, real quick. Mm-hmm. We have a little echo. I'm just gonna. Do you hear that, John?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, you're echoing.
I think it picked up when Charlie had that call.
Oh.
Oh,
Testing,
so,
testing, testing. Oh, there it goes. It's clear.
That's it. Just talk about the echo and it goes away.
All right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make a note. So the 135.30 to delete this out. Okay. And then, the next is the inspiration question. So Charlie, when it came to game school, you talked a lot about, finding yourself and, where you came through. Any new projects within game school that you've kind of, that you're really trying to push besides the VR? Like, what do you see game school being ultimately?
I see game school ultimately being a hub for education, continuing education. I think that's kind of what I felt like a need in. We talk about adult schools, which also sounds so weird when you say adult schools.
No,
but
man, like it's always learning is the number one thing. That's a hallmark of my company, RaptorCow. That's one of my 8 value principles and 8 cultural principles is continuing learning. You must always learn and harbor a voracious appetite for learning. You can't be stagnant. It's impossible. I don't want anyone in my company who works with me who thinks they know everything or it's not willing to learn. So as an adult, you need to continue learning. It keeps the mind sharp. Your mind is a muscle. Not really, but your mind is like a muscle in the sense of that if you don't use it, it goes away. So
right, yeah, and so the stigma for game school, not for game school, for adult school tends to be more like people who are learning kind of entry skills versus when you say you go to college, it's much more younger kind of college students. But like to the average young professionals, we don't necessarily have like a continuing education place where we can go back and we have a community. Because as a game producer, I worked at Disney, and we sometimes get into proprietary stuff where like you're only going to learn at Disney. So when you go out to the real world, like, well, crap, how do I transfer my knowledge? And stuff like when it's new, like VR, or it's being re-energized or recreated. There's not a place where we can go back to kind of learn some new lessons. So, like GA, General Assembly's kind of shown that, where people can now go into these very quick kind of education boot camps or classes where you can kind of upgrade your skills or, learn a little bit new things so that you can get better jobs or like more jobs, right? And
I was just saying, we have one of those here in Boston, those General Assemblies, and I get emails from them, and they do have some pretty cool like classes where it's kind of a neat approach, like you said, Charlie, where it's like, like these 12-week kind of crash course or 16-week, crash course kind of classes like project management or, how to launch, your products and stuff like that. So they have a lot of really cool classes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And so the inspiration is that as a teacher, I'm going to share all my experience, but I don't know everything about game design or games, because we all know, that's why indie struggle is it takes a lot of people to make a game.
It
and
does.
So you don't have one person who knows all these skills. And I want to make games, and I want to have and learn some of the new skills. And I don't want to, I can't go and afford a 2-year or 4-year college degree because I've had my degrees.
And you have to work and continue your life, and
exactly.
Yeah.
So I like that game school it's become a revolving hub of like the middle
professionals
of games. Professionals, exactly. Where we have indie game studios are coming in and sharing their experiences to the talent that would be eventually working at their studios or becoming peers and helping each other grow as studios.
Nice.
And so and for me as well is, I may learn that, what if VR goes into PlayStation? Then suddenly I'm learning a whole new platform because I haven't built any games on PlayStation, but I've developed on web and I've developed on mobile. So, to us, it helps us that we can continue growing our skills so that we're not obsolete because a new technology platform came out and, we're SOL'd.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, that's great. Like I said, we love the idea of game school. That's why I wanted to have you on, and I think you're doing a lot of awesome stuff. So I think that's. Wow. That's some good info. So anyone listening, go to www.game-school.com and learn more. And yeah, for sure. But we appreciate the interview segment. But at the end of every interview, you know what happens, right, Charlie?
I forget.
Oh, you don't know. This is even better. Oh,
There's a game, but I couldn't understand.
it's not a game. It's the boss battle. It's boss battle time.
Okay.
So, yeah, at the end of every interview, we have our guest of the week battle the boss of the week. And do you know who the boss this week is? I'll take that as a no. It is Wario.
Wario, that's right.
Yeah, you know, the annoying, jealous, loud, evil, wide-eyed, zigzaggy mustache, super buff Mario wannabe who's focused on everything to stop Mario and even from tennis and racing. Yeah, that guy. So let me run it down real quick how the boss battle works. So it's a series of 5 questions. 4 levels, the first 4 levels, which are normal questions. They're increasing difficulty from 1 to 4. And they are user-sourced, so the listeners can write them in, or they're ours. We make them. And if you want to send us in a question, you can do it on our social media using the hashtag BossBattle, or email us at jtexgamecast@raptorcow.com with Boss Battle question in the subject line. So for the first 4 questions, you get 1 minute, and they increase in difficulty. You get 1 warp. So if you don't know a question, you can say warp, and you can skip the question. It's essentially like a pass, right? And then with time permitting, you can return back.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
If you get 4 out of 4 on the first level questions, you get a power-up for the boss. You get 1 power-up for the 4 out of 4 as well. So you're allowed 1 power-up, which makes any question 50-50. So if you're on question 3 and you don't know, you can say power-up, and it makes the question 50-50. Okay?
Got it. Okay.
And then if you get 4 out of 4, you get an extra power-up for the boss. But if you don't get 4 out of 4, you have to fight the boss alone.
Oh, okay.
And then the 5th question is the boss encounter. You get 30 seconds for that. It's mano y mano or mano y woman if you're fighting a woman. But yeah, today it's mano y mano against Wario. So any questions?
Nope. Sounds good.
Well, if you get 5 out of 5, you get into our Hall of Champions. We have not had a champion yet. We've had a couple people take down the boss accidentally. But
accidentally.
we're right now we're only at about I think it's maybe 21% of people have beat the boss. So it's it's not too easy. So
And our contestant last week went 4 for 4 at the questions, though, right?
yeah, 4-4, and then but they failed the boss. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you ready to take down Wario?
Yes, let's go, Wario. I got this.
All right, I like it. I like the vigor and the zeal.
Yeah.
All right, John, I know you're ready.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Power up my gaming costume.
All right. Yes, and John will be your power-up manager. He'll tell you when you have a power-up again. It behooves you to use the power-ups in the later questions, obviously, because they're more difficult.
Yep.
Your boss battle starts when I finish reading the first question. Level 1. This wildly popular Japanese game series has a name that means pocket monsters. What is the answer?
Pokemon.
Final answer?
What is Pokemon?
All right. Correct. Okay, good. Level 2. What video game console has the highest number of video game console sales of all time? Is it A, the PS2, B, the Xbox 360, C, the Wii, or D, Nintendo 64?
Wii. 100% Wii.
Okay, final answer?
Yes.
Alrighty. Level 3. In 2014, Americans spent how much money on video games? A, 5 billion, B, 12 billion, C, 17 billion, or D, more than 22 billion?
Oh.
You have a power too, don't forget.
Yeah, let me do a 50-50 on that one.
It is 22 billion or 12 billion.
22 or 12. I want to say 12. 12 sounds...
30 seconds.
My final answer is 12
See,
billion.
all right, that'd be 12 then. All right, level 4.
Yes.
Which popular game inspired a pop song that charted on the Billboard Top 10 in 1982? What was the name of the song as well?
Name of the song.
And the name of the game.
Name of the game.
Oh,
1982?
Mm-hmm. 15 seconds.
Would it be Mario or Tetris? 1982? No, Mario was... I think it's Mario.
5 seconds.
I want to say Mario.
What was the name of the song?
Super Mario theme.
And time. Okay. Whew.
Could I use a? Was there a power up on that?
You used your power up already in level 3.
right.
All right, so let's go back and see how you did. Okay, we're gonna see if you got the 4 out of 4, so you can get that power up for the boss. So you can see the levels got increasingly more difficult. John, how do you think you did?
I think he went 3 for 4.
All right, we'll see. Level 1. Your question was, this wildly popular Japanese game series has a name that means pocket monsters. Your answer was Pokemon, correct?
Yep.
The answer is indeed Pokemon. Nice job. Yeah, nice job. Pokemon is a little pocket monsters. Not to be confused with Digimon, digital monsters.
Yes.
Excellent. All righty. Good job. Level 2. What video game console has the highest number of video game console sales of all time? The choices were PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Wii, or Nintendo 64, and you confidently said Wii, absolutely. Boom.
Yep.
See, right?
It's sweet.
The answer is actually A, the PlayStation 2 by a large margin. 180 million units sold versus the Wii at only 111 million. So it blasted the Wii out of the water. The PlayStation 2.
PlayStation's been around for so long.
PlayStation 2 probably broke even on that.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 is the answer. The Wii did sell very well, though. It is the number 2 up there. So, 1 for 2. Okay, all right, not too bad. Level 3. In 2014, Americans spent how much money on video games? And the choices were A, 5 billion, B, 12 billion, C, 17 billion, or D, 22 billion. Use a power up here, which reduced it down to B, 12 billion, or D, 22 billion. And your answer was B, correct?
Yep.
12 billion. The answer is D, 22 billion. According to the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, which obviously rules all games. 2014, Americans spent $22.41 billion on video games, content, hardware, and accessories. Holy cow! We like video games. That's just America. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So 1 for 3. Okay. And then question number 4, level 4. Which popular game inspired a pop song that charted in the Billboard Top 10 in 1982, and what was the name of the song? Your answer was Mario and Mario theme, right?
Yeah.
That is also incorrect. Oh, man, 1 for 4. The answer is Pac-Man and Pac-Man Fever. And this was done by a one-hit wonder duo named Buckner and Garcia. They also made a bunch of other video game theme music songs that flopped. Well, another one would be Donkey Kong and Do the Donkey Kong.
Yep.
But yes, Pac-Man Fever was in the top 10 for a while there in 1982.
Okay.
So there you go. Ouch. You have 1 life left. You have 1 heart out of your 5 hearts, and you are hobbling in. Your sword's broken. You have 1 arm left.
Heroes come in.
Shield is cracked.
Blink.
Yeah, you're poisoned. Your status
You're the
effects.
Mario. You're the small Mario, with no mushrooms.
You're
So
nothing. You're everything.
yeah.
Just hobbling into this boss. Wario is laughing. Can you hear him? Yeah, there he goes.
Underestimating me.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, you're going into this thing naked, buck naked. Okay. So, yeah. Ouch. But are you ready to take on Wario even though you're hurt? You're going to go down fighting, right?
I could still win the game.
You can. You can still beat Wario. Okay. Your boss battle, the final encounter, starts when I finish reading the entire question. There's a little background and a question. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
John, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
The boss encounter. Wario is well known to be a heated rival of Mario and Luigi. Fueled by his jealousy of Mario's popularity since they were kids, he finally makes his debut as the primary antagonist of Super Mario Land 2, The 6 Golden Coins. He has been described as uncool by Nintendo execs and likes to one-up Mario, pun intended, by stealing the gold coins. Wario likes his bling and indulgences, and 6 golden coins make him a very happy villain. Your question. Gold has been used for many such indulgences since ancient times and before written records existed. It is ridiculously malleable. 1 ounce can be drawn into 50 miles of thread, extremely inert, non-reactive, and it's basically indestructible. These properties, coupled with its rarity, have caused it to be reused and recycled over human history. Within 2%, what percentage of gold that has ever been mined in the world is still being used today?
what percentage of gold is being used?
Still being used, has ever been mined in the history of humans.
We're talking about jewelry as well, like
all gold that has ever been mined. What is still being used today because it's been recycled?
And you have to give us a number within 2%.
Within 2%. You have 20 seconds remaining. 15 seconds.
I'm gonna say 11% is being.
Final answer?
11, yeah.
And time. Alrighty. Whew. Give a good little background on Wario. Yeah, I love that
was
Game
fun.
Boy game. That Game Boy game. I love that.
Kind of like Battle Wario himself, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I used to love that 6 Golden Coins game. That was one of my first Game Boy games. I played that so much. So it's pretty interesting. Gold, since it is basically indestructible, it's been recycled throughout human history. A lot. It's reused and reused and reused. So there's still gold that was mined in the ancient times that we still use in jewelry today. So what percentage is that? Your answer was 11%, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you said it's much lower. I can tell you that it is astronomically higher by an order of nearly 8. 85% of the gold we use today is recycled. It's been used in human history. So 85% of the gold that's ever been mined is still being in use today. So so the gold we're using right now was mined by the Egyptians or the Aztecs or whatever. Yeah. So
wow.
Isn't that
I thought there was a lot of like gold like put away in banks.
No, that's diamonds. That's diamonds. No, gold is extremely rare. Like gold is much more valuable than diamonds. So. So there you go, 85%. I thought that was pretty amazing. So
yeah, wow, okay.
Well, Charlie, you did not beat the boss. Wario is sitting there in his castle laughing. He stole Princess Peach. He's hanging out with Bowser being like, ha, look at that punk down there.
He's juggling his 6 coins.
Yeah, he's juggling 6 coins.
I'll be back.
Exactly. There's always next time, but you're going home with absolutely nothing. I'm sorry to say, but valiant effort, and we're going to take a quick break and get into the topic, a couple emails, and get out of here. That boss battle was really something. Maybe if he had a little support during the encounter, that would have helped. Support in gaming? Huh. Well, that's exactly what RaptorCow does for you. If you're a game developer or a company in the gaming industry, let RaptorCow be your power-up. We offer creative production assistance, marketing, business development, and our high score program, all designed to take you to the next level. Let RaptorCow help you bring your ideas into reality. Go to RaptorCow.com for more information right now. Seriously. Pause the episode and go there. Like now. I'll wait. Alrighty, we are back. Charlie is bloodied. Wario kicked his butt. Kicked his butt. That's a Freudian slip right there. But Wario beat him up pretty good. But he's okay. He's good. He gave a valiant effort, and he was very, I would say, very deliberate with his answers. He was confident, and I like that. So didn't waver. He just went for it, and that's all you can ask for.
Yep.
Every episode we have a topic of the week. We actually talked a lot about it during your interview, but we can go over a little bit now. So what was your topic? Kind of flush it out for us and give us a little overview, Charlie.
Yeah, my topic of the week is where is VR going, and what platform will kind of pick up VR between Unity and Unreal, because I think the conversation is VR is getting really popular. So, and I don't know if it's PlayStation games would be developing games through Unreal for VR. Do you guys know if they said anything about the VR games that were being produced at the PSX?
That I don't know, but I know, again, we talked to a couple developers, and then Unity definitely has a little checkbox on it that easily exports it to VR. So,
to Oculus, I think.
That's true. I'm not sure exactly what PS VR is, their platform is, but I can look it up. But yeah, I'm not sure.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the conversation is where VR is going, and we're really excited about it, and everyone is kind of taking a stab at it. And VR gaming is exciting because we now have 360 kind of viewable space to play with. right? To create content for. So there's a lot of kind of lessons learned, but Unreal uses Blueprint, which is not code based, or you can learn how to use code using C++. But Unity is C#, and we find it much more comfortable to code, to teach people who haven't coded in that language, just because it seems much easier to manage. And then we have Blueprint, which means there's no code and you can build any world, and Unreal is a beautiful engine. And for VR, it's, you're looking for these beautiful kind of scenes, and that's kind of where we're having the discussion is, can we actually introduce two platforms where if you are going specifically VR, we can go into Unreal, but then if we're going to mobile development, then we're teaching Unity.
That's a tough spot, because we were kind of saying it in the news where VR is still kind of the Wild West. There's no specific engine. There's no specific VR, world to be in. So, and for you, it's a tough spot, because it's like,
what do you teach?
Do we just double down on Unreal, and then if they lose, they lose the quest of VR, then you got to throw all of that out and be like, guess we should have stuck with Unity, So
Right.
It's like, what do you do, So
this kind of goes back to like my Flash days, right? Where like we all bet, like Disney bet on Flash, and we're like all in for Flash, and then Apple went goodbye Flash. You went, oh
right.
my god.
yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, the wise thing for because I like Ted's mentioned, and I've mentioned before, I'm the open source advocate guy, and Unreal has open sourced their engine, so I am all in on really what companies should do, but they're not going to. Sony and Xbox and Oculus and all these other guys, Unity, they should all be converging on Unreal and making it the best VR experience, so that way everyone benefits. But that's in an ideal world, and that's not going to happen, because Sony's going to want to lock it down, or Microsoft's going to want to lock it down. Even the Oculus seems kind of somewhat open, but I think if it gains a foothold, then they'll try and lock that down. So it's really tough to decide if you're going to stick with one. I think you would kind of have to be general with broad brushes to kind of cover sort of everything, just to hedge your bets, I guess.
Well, that's why we're kind of looking to create a core bootcamp where we're developing the core of game development, where the tools don't necessarily hinder you from still developing games. But then we would still have the kind of night classes where we want to kind of focus on having like monthly night classes where we have veterans in each of these kind of. So if we want to do Unreal and VR, we would bring in somebody who's really good at teaching Unreal and VR and teach for a couple of hours during the week for evenings for people to come in and learn very quickly and see whether or not that's the place they want to be at, or if they think that Unity and VR is the place they want to be. To kind of because I feel like we're not necessarily going to teach everything, so we're going to bring in these amazing kind of teachers and mentors to come in and help us kind of teach the rest of the community what they're looking to teach.
Right.
And I know a lot of people say, like startup is all about focusing on your product, but our community is indie developers as a whole.
Right.
Well, here's a question for you, Charlie, though, like kind of backtracking on the deal. Where's your mind at? Unity or Unreal for VR? What do you think is better? Like, where do you want to take game school? I know you want to do both. I know you don't want to, like mess up and stop something that could be good, because you've had that experience being like, oh no,
right?
Like Apple got rid of Flash, and so you were left holding the bag, so to speak. I go, oh, but where are you thinking game school should go? Which direction would you turn?
Well, I think to me it's still foundation, right? It's all about foundation still. And I feel like Unity still provides the foundation where we can still teach coding, because coding is also transferable to a different industry where you can say, well, I'm going to go and build websites or apps. We all know that UX has taken a lot of cues from game design. So a lot of people are taking a lot of cues from what game design has developed in terms of what's interactive, what's gamified now, right? What's level progression. So I feel like if we learn through Unity, we're still learning game fundamentals, where you're learning how to code, you're working through the process of understanding why a game mechanic does that. I understand that Blueprint makes that visual representation much better, but that's such a proprietary tool versus using C#, and you have the C# skills now to go and pick up another language if you have to learn a different app or tool or Android development, and you can now transfer that skill versus if we do Unreal and VR, we're also if we do focus on VR, which I still want to focus on VR, I think it's I don't know. I still haven't seen the full potential in Unreal, so I don't want to also misrepresent what its true potential is for VR as well. So this is kind of a new thing. We are doing our own kind of due diligence and research on this.
Well, I think too, you were saying like you have one student that literally went from not really programming to pumping out a Galaga type game in 6 weeks. With Unreal, if you present someone C++ that's never programmed, they're going to say, I want nothing to do with programming. You know, you're not going to get someone off the street programming in C++. And I mean, you know, maybe, but the average person is going to want nothing to do with developing if you show them C++ as the first language, or like, you know, something like C or whatever. It's just like, yeah, I want nothing to do with this. Like, so I think with Unity and C#, you have a much better, you know, the barrier to entry is much lower, and it gives, you know, people that confidence. You know, like that girl that's never programmed anything, and in 6 weeks she has a game to show for it. She's like, I did this, right. You know, like, and we, you know, you wouldn't get that out of Unreal. So, you know, maybe you should focus a little more on Unity and C# if that's, you know, your audience, which it sounds like it is.
Yeah, it's that tough catch-22. Which one? Like, because I feel that Unreal is much more powerful of a tool. If you can dig into it. Yeah, but the accessibility and ease of use of Unity allows for maybe greater a shallower learning curve, so maybe you can create better stuff earlier on, and then that opens up creativity to doing other things earlier, so maybe that allows for, you know, greater things to be created versus just a powerful tool. So if you have an extremely powerful tool but you can't use it, what is it, right? So it's you guys are kind of in that catch-22, and VR in itself is in that. It's like, which one do we use? Which one do developers use? What do we want to make our game in for this VR experience? So yeah, it's because VR, I think it's a great topic because VR is huge. It's like, okay, do we make VR games, right? That's the biggest thing first. It's like, should we make this VR supported? Should we do this VR? Blah, 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 right? But now it's the whole thing, okay, within VR, this is like a subtopic, Unreal or Unity. And then that's like a whole nother ballgame that's just, yeah, I never really thought about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and I think too, if you present Unity first and you give people that confidence, then you can show them Unreal, like, well, hey, we also have this as an option. And then when people have that confidence, then maybe they'd be willing to dive a little bit deeper with the C++. Like, hey, you know what? I learned how to program in C#. I could probably learn this C++ too.
Yep. So our hope is to eventually have like boot camp level 2, boot camp level 3, where eventually we can cater to and we like to think of also our education not to compete with the universities and colleges. I think what we are is like the stopgaps in between, where you need, a complement where you integrate that great knowledge you learn, but now like, what does it look like in a real game?
Right.
And get the community around you and find the people that are already making games, so you're getting their experience as well as the intellectual conversation of making the AI more efficient. You know, like, those to me are much bigger conversation that you have way more foundation in game design. But if you don't have any of that, it's much easier to just go in and just develop a quick game for mobile, because mobile that's the accessibility of games. Because everyone's got a mobile device that's playing on a game. And actually, the cardboard changes the conversation of VR, because yes, Oculus may be $100. You need either a computer,
the Samsung deal,
or a Samsung deal, or a cardboard, and you already have an iPhone, or you have a Galaxy, or you have already a Samsung. You can throw on a cardboard, and now you have a VR experience. And I found I had my cousin who was over, and we had these branded cardboards, which are amazing for marketing, by the way. And I thought there was a barrier to entry for anyone to pick up, download an app on their on their phone, put on a cardboard, their phone on the cardboard, and put on the silly cardboard on their face in front of everyone and just check it out. And my cousin did it by just sitting around. He downloaded the app, he put it on the cardboard, he looked around by himself. I didn't give him any instructions or even like prime him on VR. And he loved it. And he goes, "This is amazing." I was so amazed by how quick the marketing sells itself.
Right. Yeah, we know VR is cool. This is now it's the next push of how do we get it on people's faces? How do we market? How do we get videos out?
What's the content?
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. So, your topic was awesome. It's something good to think about. It'll be interesting to see where you guys go with Game School, what you focus on here in the future, and what other, what the PSVR and what the Oculus, what they do, like what they kind of tell the developers to do. And I think that's the future of VR. It's still a Wild West, and we're going to see some cool stuff. So, thanks for the topic. I appreciate that, Charlie.
So thank
John,
you.
Sure. Yeah.
And do you guys get feedback from your audience? I'd love to get feedback from your audience as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Excellent. So yeah, let's. We got time for a couple quick emails, and we'll go to the email segment, and then let's get on out of here. So. If you guys want to write into the show, it's jtexgamecast@raptorcow.com. That's the email address right there. Don't write to any other one. Put that. So we have a lot of emails, but we don't have time for all of them, so I'm going to pick a couple. Perfect. We want to check this out. I forgot to write their name in the deal here. Oh, well. So this one, it's from, okay, I'll make up a name. So John and Ted says, PlayStation is taking the industry by storm. What do you think their next move is? How heavy are they going to lean onto VR? Are they going to treat it like Vita? And this comes in from, let's call him Cornelius. From Cornelius in Wichita.
Buffalo.
Okay, Buffalo. Cornelius in Buffalo asked that. Perfect. So great question. As we saw from PSX, they did a lot of VR stuff. What do you guys know what they're doing to the Vita? They kind of haven't, since it came out, they never really marketed it. They just kind of let it die and let it do its own thing. It seems like they're leaning on this VR thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like I said, I think someone, everyone's going to try and lock down the VR. So if someone does, like we were saying earlier, they're going to get a nice influx of cash probably, even if it doesn't turn into what we're expecting to, and maybe AR takes over. But I think there's definitely still a spot for VR. So I think there's still, again, we're in that Wild West. So I think if Sony sees some traction, maybe they'll double down on it. And that's why they're going to push out these 6 games he talked about. And with the Vita, I mean, maybe it just didn't take off like they wanted. Just said, nah, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's...
I think they're catering to their audience a lot more. I think the Vita is a portable, mobile kind of device, which doesn't necessarily cater to the to me, the PlayStation are much more the tech fanboys are like the technical qualities there for Sony versus I feel like Xbox, because it's a wider range of games that are published there. So Sony, it's like the PS Vita is a portable device. Like most of these gamers were probably playing and want to play only on their PlayStation 3 with the best experience possible. So I feel like the VR then levels up that experience because there's nothing else they can do. They probably have the best audio. They probably have the best whatever for their PlayStation 3. But the Oculus says your TV is actually now obsolete for a one.
Right.
Your personal experience, not as a multiplayer yet, but for personal experience, you don't need a TV. Here, just plug in this Oculus and your PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good gamble. The Vita, I think they were trying to add a different market to themselves, and it didn't work. But they already have unless they're pulling out the Move didn't do too well, and I think that's because they were trying to still target a casual audience. Because the hardcore gamer isn't going to hold a gun to shoot for 5 hours. He wants to be on his couch, on his controller shooting. But if he's wearing goggles, he's still not moving that much. So he's still good.
I don't think they were all in on the Move anyways. I think they just saw Microsoft come out with the Kinect
Wii
and
too. The Wii.
I think they're just kind of like, let's we'll throw something out there, but they, in case they don't want to lose any ground probably, so they just kind of threw it out there to see what would happen. But
Well, yeah, so, there you go. So, again, I'm on the same board. I think PlayStation is going to lean into it a lot more. It's VR. They'd be dumb not to. So, all righty. This email comes in from... darn, I didn't do it again. Okay, well, here we go. It says, this is again about PlayStation because a lot of PSX emails. Says PlayStation Now services are going to be $100 for the year, which is like a pretty good deal if they can actually flesh out that system. Do you think that's the future of consoles? A kind of on-demand media playing box that comes in from Sacagawea from Minnesota. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so Sacagawea, good jump, Sacagawea, whatever you want to say. Yeah, the PlayStation Now, it's not. It's almost like a little Roku type thing, and it's a cool service. Like they have a bunch of PS3 games on it, like on demand, where you just pay for the streaming service. Right now, it's like $19 a month. So getting it for $100 for the year is a great deal.
It's good.
Yeah, and so it's just like all these games on demand. I don't know how the latency is and all the lag, all that stuff, but it seems like that could be the new thing, and that seems like to me what the systems are going to. Like think of like the Steam box, like what they're trying to make. I think that's the future of consoles, really, like a little VR setup with like games on demand. Like that's how TV has moved towards.
I'm assuming you're downloading the game though, right, onto the little box.
No,
like, you're not
you stream it.
They're
You stream it.
streaming
Stream it. Yeah, they download, they cache it, obviously.
Yeah,
and then they cache a portion of it and you just play. Yeah, it's totally streaming. Yeah.
So you're using the server's GPUs to process the information.
Yeah.
So they can always then at that point upgrade their systems. Before our end, it's just whatever we stream on our box.
Yeah.
So they need to build a cluster of like NVIDIA graphic cards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that's the future. So
I'm hopeful only if they're willing to say we're not going to make us buy a whole new box every kind of 2-3 years, because they should just upgrade their systems.
Firmware it.
Yeah,
or make it modular. You can update and pull out your put some more memory in there, some different RAM. Add some a little hard drive in there. If it make it small like a Roku or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
you know what? I actually never even heard of that until you just mentioned PlayStation. I'll have to check that out. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It doesn't work as great as a thing. It's got a bunch of PS3 games right now only, but it's still a decent type of deal. So
yeah, I mean, we have the Fire TV, and they kind of
have the gaming controller just came out.
Yeah, they don't really tout the gaming aspect of it. My kids have downloaded a few games on it. It's kind of cool. I mean, you're just playing kind of mobile games. You're not playing like full blown, titles. But it's still kind of cool that the Fire TV is capable of playing stuff like that. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I actually picked up the Apple TV too.
Oh, nice. How's that?
Yeah,
I have the Apple TV 1.
Amazing.
So.
It's really nice. I had I should have you guys over. We've been having game jams over at my place, like thinking of games for Apple TV, because it converts really well for iOS games. So I was playing. Space Team was awesome on the giant TV, and everyone's on their phone. So you have like Commander on the TV.
Really, I never played that. Is it cool?
Space Team? Oh yeah, Space Team's amazing. Have you played, John?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, okay. So basically, 3 people just have screens, and they yell out commands, just like in a spaceship. So you're like, turn the knob to 2, set the dials to thrusters.
Oh, it's kind of like don't mess up or everyone explodes or something like that. The bomb one. Have you played that one?
No, but it probably sounds very similar, where everybody takes turn reading commands, and then somebody has to do whatever on their screen. If it shows that like. Set the thrusters to 0. So, on my screen, I would set it to 0, and then somebody else has to say, but we're escaping an asteroid, so we have to say it very quickly and basically engage hyperdrive, and all of us have to take turns communicating.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, the game I was talking about is called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. It's about there's a bomb on the screen, and there's one person who does the commands, and then there's a 500, not really, I think like 300-page manual, and it's all this person made, and you can replay it different things. So the bomb procedurally generates randomly, and so all the different components, and you have to search through the manual. Like you have 3 players search through the manual. Like it's paper manual, you just print it out, and then one person manipulating like the bomb on their computer screen, their phone, and they're okay, and they have to explain to you because they can't see the bomb, but you can only see the bomb, and you can't see the manual.
Okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
so they're like, it's like a 3 symbols like this, like a yellow wire, and they have to go to find the book. Where's the yellow wire page? Okay. That means that's the converter panel. Don't touch that; it'll blow up. Okay, so you have to like explain. Yeah, it's like that's a fun game, and there's a time limit, and it's good for like families and stuff. So that game sounds the same. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think we got time for one more quickie. Well, this is a fun one, and then we'll get out of here. So, hey, Excellent Adventurites. Okay, the most important questions of your lives are as follows. Please feel free to elaborate on the answers. You can tell about somebody's soul by their answers. All right, we're going to go around a little round table about this one. Charlie, start with you, then John, then me, okay? Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Pepsi.
Pepsi. Oh, man, you're one of those people, huh?
I actually don't care for both of them, so I just
I don't drink soda anymore, but I was a Pepsi guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Coke seems too sweet and flat. I like Pepsi's like got a little bite to it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Ready? Ford or Chevy?
Ooh, Ford.
I would have to say Chevy.
I would say Chevy as well. I drive a Chevy Trailblazer. It's done well for me for a while. So, Xbox or PlayStation?
Ooh, Xbox.
John?
To say PlayStation.
I would also say PlayStation.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Charlie, dogs or cats?
Yeah, 1 man out. Dogs or cat?
Yep.
Cat.
Yep. John?
I would say dog.
I would also say cat. I'm not a dog person. I don't like dogs very much.
Wow.
I like bigger dogs. I don't like little tiny yippy dogs. And in
Yeah,
LA, it's all about like the little toy dogs, little purse dogs.
No. If I have a dog, it has to be like 60,
70
a husky
pounds.
or German Shepherd or something.
Yeah, exactly. Those are my 2 favorite dogs anyway. So yeah, good call.
There you go.
Charlie, ketchup or mustard? Go.
Ketchup.
Phew.
That's a tough one. I know.
I don't really care about either. I guess it depends on what it is. Sandwiches, mustard, I guess.
Yeah. See, man, I love ketchup, but I also like mustard. Like a corn dog, have to have mustard on it. I have to go ketchup. I use it more. Dang, I like mustard though. Ketchup. All right.
I really don't use condiments, so.
Oh, I know the messy deal. Yeah. So, all right, Charlie, chocolate or vanilla? Go.
Chocolate.
Oh yeah, chocolate.
And chocolate. There we go. That's the one. We universally accepted the chocolate. All right. The trifecta. Right on. So thanks, everybody. That's it for the emails. We had a bunch more, but we'll save them for next week. So if you guys want to write into the show, it's jtexgamecast@raptorcow.com. That's the email address. So every show ends with a closeout segment. This week is actually really hard. It's the closeout segment. We rotate them, so we have return of Guess That Game. So This is when you listeners can we give you a clue and you try to guess the game. The first person to write in with the correct answer, you will win something. So again, you can use that email address. You can do it on social media if you'd like, but I would suggest emailing so people don't see it. But John, what do we got? What's the clue?
So I don't know how much to give away, but let's say
it's hard.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's obscure, but if you were a fan of this gaming system, this game is the equivalent to a Super Mario Brothers. So I'll give you that.
That's a good clue. Okay.
So the protagonist of this game is a bald, strong cave boy who battles anthropomorphic dinosaurs and other prehistoric themed enemies.
All right, so there's the clue. Write in with your answer at jtexgamecast@raptorcow.com with guess that game in the subject line and win something. So that's going to do it for the show. Charlie, here's your chance to do your shameless plug. What's all your social media? What are your links? How do people get a hold of you? Go.
So you can go to our website at www.game-school.com. We're on Twitter at GameSchoolForAll. You can email me at charlie@game-school.com. And if you have any question regarding the boot camps, what classes we have, when they're having, you can join our newsletter on our website.
Nice.
And,
awesome.
Our YouTube channel, we have a Game School official. You can view all of our old panels. So
that's good.
So next year when we have more panels, we're going to be able to put all those back online.
Okay, cool. So they can just search for Game School on YouTube?
Exactly.
Sweet. Excellent. Well, hey, Charlie, thank you very much. We've enjoyed it. Especially for John, too. Right? I think he's been fun.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. This has been really fun.
No worries. Hey, well, that's going to do it for the show. You can get a hold of us. All of our social media is at JTEX Gamecast. That's our Twitter. That's our Instagram. That's the email address at JTEX Gamecast. Join our Facebook group. It's John and Ted's Excellent Gamecast group. You can find us on iTunes, on Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you download podcasts. Subscribe, share it with your friends, review. New website for the podcast is up. It's RaptorCow.com/JTEX Gamecast. You can find some cool boss battle stats there, up-to-date news and everything. That's fun. And my personal Twitter and Instagram is at Tedwards44. John is at JNADO7, and that's JNADEAU7. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks, guys, and see you next week.
Game over.